Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at this idea of Zaka.
Okay.
And it's a word I feel like we kind of throw around a lot, maybe without really
Yeah,
thinking about all the layers to it and all the connections. And for
absolutely.
this, we're going to be referencing an article by Paigam. It's pronounced Paigam Mustafa
Okay.
on www.signet.co.uk. And he really digs into like the Quranic roots of Zaka and how it connects to
Mhm.
all these different things like personal purity and commitments and even spiritual growth.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating look at how that word has been kind of
Yeah.
maybe misinterpreted or oversimplified in some ways.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that really struck me about this article was that emphasis on the Quranic meaning of Zaka as pure.
Right, and the article sort of pushes back against those typical translations that we always see where it's
Yeah.
just equated with charity.
Yes.
It's about more than just, giving money. It's about a state of being.
Exactly. It's like a fundamental like
Yeah.
purity. And the article points out that it often appears
Mm.
in the Quran alongside sola, which is commitments.
Right.
And that pairing really struck me because, like in verse 2.43, it says, "You shall observe your commitments, Sola, and keep them pure, Zaka."
Hmm.
What does it mean to like keep a commitment pure?
That's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of what this article is exploring. It's
Hmm.
not just about, fulfilling the external action or, going through the motions.
Right.
It's about the intention behind it, the motivation.
Right.
The article gives the example of a scientist.
Yeah.
If they're going into a lab to do an important experiment, they have to make sure that all of their equipment is completely pure
Right.
because any kind of contaminant could completely throw off the results.
Oh.
So in the same way, if our commitments are kind of tainted by ulterior motives or external pressures or any kind of impurities,
Mhm.
then they lose their true essence, their true power.
It's like those impurities are diluting the impact of
Yeah.
what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's like it's
Yes.
weakening the foundation of our commitment.
Yeah. And I think this is where it starts to get really interesting because
Mm-hmm.
this idea of purity is going beyond just those outward actions.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about an inner state of being.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about purifying ourselves from the inside out.
And the article uses this really powerful example of
Yes.
Moses and Pharaoh
Yeah.
from verses 79.1 Simbad 18, where Moses is urging Pharaoh to purify himself from wrongdoing.
Right. It's not just about avoiding bad deeds. It's about actively pursuing righteousness as a way to purify yourself.
So every time we choose to do what's right,
Mm-hmm.
every act of kindness, every decision that's based on like good morals and values,
Yeah.
that's actually contributing to our own
Yes.
inner purity.
It's like we're refining ourselves with every righteous action.
Wow, okay, that's a really powerful way to look at it. And, speaking of powerful,
Yeah.
the article also references this verse 2.277.
Mm-hmm.
And this one talks about the recompense from God for those who believe,
Yeah.
lead a righteous life,
Yeah.
observe their commitments, and of course, keep them pure. I always think of recompense as being kind of like a material reward.
Yeah.
Like you're going to get something tangible in return.
I think a lot of people think that way.
Yeah, but I'm getting the sense that there's
Mhm.
more to it than that.
There's definitely a deeper level to it.
Okay.
It's not just about material gain. It's also about the inner peace and fulfillment that comes from aligning yourself with what's right. Think about the feeling you get when you help someone in need, or when you make a difficult decision, but it's the ethical thing to do.
Mm.
That sense of satisfaction, that alignment with your values, that's a form of recompense in itself.
So it's like the reward is woven into the act itself.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a state of being, a richness of spirit that goes beyond any tangible reward.
And I guess that kind of brings us to
Yeah.
these figures that the article highlights, John, Jesus, and Mary,
Mm-hmm.
who are all mentioned in verses 19.13 and 19.19.
Mm-hmm.
And these are individuals who are often praised for their purity.
Yes.
Why do you think they're so significant in this context?
I think they serve as really powerful examples that purity is achievable.
Okay.
These are human beings who, through their actions, their devotion, their commitment to righteousness, achieved a level of spiritual purity that's truly inspiring.
So it's like they embody this ideal of Zaka.
Exactly. They're role models who show us that this path is open to all of us.
And it's about seeing that potential in ourselves.
Absolutely.
And striving for that same kind of inner transformation. And one of the things I found really interesting was the article's point about how many translations just kind of lump Zakah and Sadaqah together
Right.
as just charity.
Yeah, they kind of use those terms interchangeably, but there's a subtle but important distinction.
Okay, so what is that distinction?
So while both involve giving zakah, really emphasizes the purity of the act,
Okay.
making sure it's free from any selfish motives,
Okay.
while tzedakah focuses more on the sincerity of the giver.
So they're both important,
Yeah.
but they're kind of coming at it from
Exactly.
different angles.
They're both facets of giving, but they highlight different aspects.
I see. Okay, so it's not just about what we give. It's about the state of our hearts as we give.
Precisely.
And I noticed that the article also cites all these verses in the footnotes.
Yeah.
There's 2.83, 2.129, 2.151, 2.277, 9.1023, 18.81, 19.13, 19.131, 22.78, 24.21, 35.18, 58.13, 78.12, and 18, and 91.1 to 9.
Wow, that's quite a list.
Yeah, like what's the significance of all those? Are they just like showing off how much research they did?
No, I think it's more like a trail of breadcrumbs.
Oh,
Each of those verses offers a different perspective on zakah.
okay.
It shows how it's woven through all these different stories and teachings within the Quran.
Mm.
It's like an invitation to go and explore the concept in more depth.
Because we're not just getting a definition, we're getting a glimpse into the
Yeah.
wider world of Zakah.
Exactly. It's about expanding our understanding and seeing how it connects to different aspects of our lives.
It's like all those verses are puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
When you put them all together, you get this bigger picture of what Zakah really represents.
That's a great way to put it. It's about seeing the interconnectedness of it all.
I love that. And that's what I love about these deep dives,
Yeah.
is uncovering those hidden layers beneath the surface.
It's about going beyond the surface level and really digging into the richness of these concepts.
Exactly. And there's so much more to uncover. So let's dive into some of those layers in part 2.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, and some of those verses actually talk about purifying our wealth.
Okay, so not just giving it away.
It's about examining that relationship we have with money
Right.
and making sure it's aligned with these principles of purity.
So it's not just about having money or not having money. It's about how
Right.
we view it and how we
Exactly.
interact with it.
And the article makes a really good point about how reducing zakah to just charity really misses that deeper meaning.
Yeah.
It's about purifying our whole relationship with wealth, making sure our financial dealings are ethical,
Right.
our intentions are pure, and we're not letting material possessions control us.
It's like that saying money is a tool,
Yeah.
and it's up to us to use it
Exactly.
responsibly.
And with integrity.
And this kind of reminds me of what you were saying earlier about Sadaqah
Yeah.
and how it emphasizes sincerity. Is there a
Yeah.
connection there between the purity of our relationship with wealth and the sincerity of our giving?
Absolutely. I think there's a beautiful interplay between those two concepts.
Okay.
You know, imagine giving charity just out of a sense of obligation or social pressure. You know,
Okay.
it might be a good deed on the surface, but that inner purity,
Right.
that heartfelt sincerity might be missing.
So the intention behind it is
Exactly.
what really matters.
But when our relationship with wealth is pure, when our intentions are aligned with generosity and compassion, then sadaqah becomes a natural extension of that.
So it's like Zakah and Sadaqah
Yeah.
are working together.
They complement each other.
Yeah, like two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. They're both essential for a truly meaningful act of giving.
And this concept of striving for purity, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just limited to Islam.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You see echoes of this in so many different spiritual traditions
Right.
around the world.
Like what kind of?
Well, think about the emphasis on mindfulness in Buddhism,
Okay.
or the purification rituals that you find in various indigenous cultures.
Mm-hmm.
These are all pointing towards this universal human desire to refine ourselves,
Right.
to move towards a state of greater integrity and alignment.
So regardless of our background or beliefs, we all share this
Yeah.
common ground.
This innate longing to live a more authentic, more meaningful life.
And maybe Zakah is like a framework for that.
I think that's a really insightful way to look at it. It's
Yeah.
about approaching life with intention and purpose.
And this article that we've been talking about by Pegam Mustafa
Yes.
on www.signet.co.uk, it's really got me thinking.
He's a great writer.
Yeah.
He has a real knack for making these complex concepts
Yes.
accessible and relatable.
And I love how he's really digging into the Quranic roots of this idea. I'm definitely going to check out more of his work on the Signet website.
I highly recommend it if you're interested in exploring the Quran and uncovering those hidden gems of wisdom.
It's like he's inviting us to see things from a fresh perspective.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding.
It's about expanding our understanding and challenging our assumptions.
Yeah, and there's so much more to unpack in this article. So let's continue our deep dive in part 3.
It's good. I'm ready when you are.
You know what's really striking me about this whole idea of a Zakat is the challenge it presents. It's not just about like going through the motions or performing rituals.
Right.
It's about cultivating this deep, genuine purity that permeates every aspect of our lives. And it kind of makes you stop and think,
Yeah.
like how much of what we do is truly driven by pure intentions.
It's a question we should all be asking ourselves regularly.
Yeah, and it's not always an easy question to answer.
No, it's not. It's where the real work begins.
Right.
It's about examining those hidden motivations, the subconscious biases that can color our actions, even the ones that seem good on the surface.
So it's like we're holding up a mirror
Yeah,
to our own heart.
exactly.
And asking what's really driving me here.
Is it my ego? Is it social pressure? Or is it something deeper, something truer?
And I think that's what makes this concept of Zakat so powerful.
It's about self-awareness
Right.
and making a conscious effort to purify our intentions.
It's not like we're expected to reach some perfect state of purity overnight.
No, it's a continuous process
Right.
of self-reflection and refinement.
It's like we're constantly weeding out those impurities and cultivating the seeds of purity within ourselves.
It's a beautiful way to think about it.
And it kind of brings us back to that idea of keeping commitments pure,
Yeah.
which we touched on earlier.
Yeah. Like, how does this process of self-purification actually impact our ability to make and keep commitments in a truly meaningful way?
Well, imagine making a promise
Okay.
while you're harboring resentment or ulterior motives.
Right.
Those hidden impurities can actually undermine the whole foundation of that commitment.
Okay.
But when we commit to something from a place of purity,
Mm-hmm.
when our intentions are clear, our hearts are open,
Right.
and we're acting in alignment with their values,
Yeah.
that's when the commitment becomes a force for positive change.
So the purity of our intention is like the bedrock
Yes.
of our actions
It gives them weight and meaning.
and a lasting impact.
And that's a powerful message to carry with us
Yeah, it really is.
as we navigate the complexities of life.
And it reminds us that true strength comes from within.
Mm.
It's not about outward appearances or achievements.
It's about the purity of our hearts,
Right.
the integrity of our actions, and the
Yeah.
commitment to living a life that reflects our highest values. It's been an incredible deep dive.
I agree.
And, I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of Zakat.
There's always more to explore.
There's so much more to think about and to apply to our own lives.
Absolutely.
And I'm walking away with a renewed sense of purpose,
That's wonderful.
a deeper understanding of how purity, commitment, and spiritual growth are all intertwined.
It's all connected.
And for our listeners, if you're feeling that same spark of inspiration, I highly encourage you to check out the full article by Pagam, it's pronounced Pagam Mustafa,
Yes.
on www.signet.co.uk.
It's definitely worth a read.
Yeah, it's a journey worth taking, and who knows, you might just uncover your own aha moments along the way.
You never know what insights you might find.
Until next time, keep diving deep. Keep seeking those hidden gems of wisdom.
And keep striving for that purity in all that you do.
Exactly.